Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of That Spiritual Girl Next Door. A quick note before we dive in. If you're enjoying the show, will you please tap follow or subscribe on the podcast? I'm also on YouTube with the same handle at That Spiritual Girl Next Door, and since I've been most active on Instagram, come hang out there with us too. One more favor that truly helps. If you have 30 seconds, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcast or whatever platform you listen on? I'm light on written reviews, and apparently that's what helps new people find the show. I don't love playing the algorithm game, but I do want to keep growing this community. So thanks for taking a moment to do that. All right. Today I'm talking with Elly Molina. She's an educator, an intuitive consultant, and the author of Children Who Know How to Know. This episode's super practical. We get into self-talk that actually works. So think real-time useful affirmations rather than just empty mantras. But we play with simple intuition games that you can play alone or with your kids, like adding an energy scan twist to the classic memory match game. We learn how to read if a card is red or black before flipping it over, and how you can send and receive colors telepathically to your kids or a friend, and just make a game out of it. But Elly explains why kids naturally spend more time in an alpha brain state and how you can use a candle focus exercise to help them learn what focus actually feels like. We also unpack her psi ontology approach, and so that's PSI ontology, not to be confused with the religion, but it's her theory on how changing everyday language, like retiring the use of shoulds and coulds and tries, how that shifts confidence and outcomes. But I really love this one because it's down to earth and immediately something you can apply in your life. So enjoy my conversation with Elly Molina. Now on to the show.
I don't use mantras like that. I use them to talk to myself.
Mm.
So it's not like, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire. No. Like, I got it. I got this. I am now going to be seen. My skin is beautiful and body has this, like I use the affirmations to really talk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So
you got
it's
that.
almost like it's not inner child work, but it's that same theme of like speaking to yourself
Oh,
as
absolutely.
as you would want anyone else to.
That's right.
And I saw a little meme the other day, and it said, if I asked you to list the things you're grateful for, how long would it take, or the things you love, how long would it take you to get to yourself? And it's like, darn.
Whoa, where am I on that list, right?
Yeah. Elly Molina, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Have just finished your book. Elly Molina wrote Children Who Know How to Know, and she also does a wealth of other things. So I'm going to toss it over to you, and can you introduce yourself?
Oh, hi. Sure. That's a question that's always been very loaded for me.
Absolutely.
So who am I and what do I do? So it's changed so many years, Kelly. I mean, it's changed over the years so many times that bottom line, who am I and what do I do? Well, I'm basically an educator and I will always stay an educator. I'm a lifelong learner. I will always remain a learner. Right now, I'm wearing a few different hats. I'm an intuitive consultant, a concierge consultant. So I work with people who are up to, I call them planetarians. I mean, I work with anybody who wants to really make a difference for their lives and for the planet. And my current clients right now are all about making a difference for not only their lives, but the planet. They're up to big, super big projects. Now, you don't need to be up to a big, super project to work with me. But that's who most of the people are that I work with, and we create a dream that they have. We step into it. So that's one of the things that I do. Then I'm also working with adults and children and educators to teach people what it takes to, after we have the abilities, our psychic abilities are developed, which we all have. We'll get into that later. And after that, what I'm really working on, and that's in the book also, is not just doing it, but what happens after the phenomena. So my next book is going to be all about what happens after the phenomena, what happens with our consciousness when we start to achieve new consciousness, and what will it take to create a new model of thinking, a new world view that will enable all of us to easily and effortlessly access our own psychic and intuitive abilities and live life from that perspective. So that's basically what I'm
That's
doing right now.
so great. And I mean, you're changing the world, helping other people change the world. You can't get better than that kind of ripple effect. And I think it answers the question that a lot of people have when we start talking about these psi abilities, like, well, what's the point? And how does this
Mhm.
help me in my day-to-day life? And I want to get to the stuff that you were working on that you're mentioning in this new book, but really specifically, I'd love to talk about your work with children. I have several educators that are excited that you're having this conversation. Shout out Anne Sophie, my friend that's a teacher. She's a French teacher in New Jersey, in Montclair, and she was so excited that you're coming, and she already bought your book,
Oh,
and she is a wonderful educator, and that yes, she teaches French, but she does a lot of these things that you speak about in your book, and uses the opportunity to help children really connect with their hearts. And so I wanted to start with how I think assuming that all children have these innate abilities is the best place to start. Can we
yeah,
talk a little bit about that?
absolutely. So I All right, background. I started this work back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And even so, when I started, this is something that Sophie may want to use in class, okay, because she's
Mhm.
teaching French. So you go get those memory cards. You know, those little memory, like I'm looking for a pot in French, and then let me find the next pot in French. And then
Okay.
uh,
The memory matchmaking
the memory match.
matchmaker. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. All right. So now to start to focus that memory and match, not just from the vocabulary, okay, and the memory, but start to look at it from a psychic perspective. And
Mm.
all you have to do is change the language on that one. So instead of saying, "Hey, let's go memory match. Do you remember where this was?" How about you just have some fun with it? And you put your hand on there in front and you hold it over like Reiki kind of thing. And like, where do I feel this? So you're not just relying on your memory on the beta brain, but you're also now relying on some alpha information. And I do this with 4-year-olds. All right. So and it's like match, match,
Mhm.
match. All right. And it's
Every parent has this game. I mean, and it might
right,
be a picture of
right.
a cat and then a cat and then the dog. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
with
Absolutely.
French, that's a fabulous vocabulary game. But I mean, I love this for
Yeah,
anyone.
absolutely. You
I've got it
know,
in my cabinet.
right, old maid, what can I tell you? Any game where you can
Mm.
match. So you want to start to take it not just from the items that you're matching in memory beta, you want to start to take it from the alpha level, which is the level that they are in up until puberty. So it's a brain function and the brain slows down. They're in alpha where we need to meditate to get to that space. They're in there naturally. So getting back to how can we do this with children, our children, let's say your children, my grandchildren, if anybody listening has grandchildren or you're a caretaker, it's really, really simple. So any game, all you need to do is change the language on it, which
Mhm.
gets into the Scientology. So we change the language of what it is that we're doing. I got to pull this out because I saw this at the Psy Games. And even though I had not used this before,
Well, and
I
as you're pulling it out, I want to make sure everyone knows we're not talking about Scientology. This is
oh, no,
Ellie's.
no, no,
Yes.
this is
This
this
is PSI dash
um,
ontology.
right, right.
And we're going to talk more about that upcoming book, but this just basically using your language to help with psi abilities.
Right, to
Okay.
who are you being psychically through your language and who you're being. So anyway,
Yeah.
back to the Psy Games. One of the things that they were using, and this is not a plug for the company, but they were using these pegs, right? Where
Mhm.
you and so I said, "Oh, you know what? I never used these in the class. I had never used those. Let me take these and get them." So I brought them to the grandkids, all right? And I just said put the blindfolds on that I gave them. I always make sure that they cannot see because a lot of people, and it's really obviously, I mean, they're the naysayers, okay? And when the naysayers say they can see through the blindfolds, you cannot see through mindfolds. You just can't.
You can't.
So people who were spreading, excuse me, I'm on a little bit of a tangent here.
Go,
There,
girl. I
there
like
have
it.
been people on YouTube and on TikTok spreading lies about being able to see under through the blindfold. And you know what? If you're using the mindfold and you are peeking, you could see when they're peeking. So it's like, hello, no brainer. Don't hold your camera in such a way so that other people can't see. Don't believe everything that you're seeing. So anyway, fast forward after years of doing this work, actually decades. So I
Mhm.
brought the blindfolds over to the kids. They're mindfolds. They're small. They fit over. They can. My granddaughter goes, I
How old
can't.
are they?
Okay, 3 and 5.
I
Okay.
love it. So I feel like that's really an important piece that some
Mhm.
people don't think their kids are old enough, but
Mm-mm.
really you wanna start that soon. So anyway, go
You
ahead.
wanna if you're into this and you're pregnant, okay, you wanna start with this in the womb, believe it or not,
Mm.
with the self-talk, with the talking to the child about the possibility. We'll get into that if we have a few moments. But now I bring this over to the kids, and they're all excited because they think we're playing pegs, and I'm like, "No, we're gonna play this. You put your blindfolds on, you're gonna." And then my granddaughter goes, "I can't see anything." And then her dad goes, "Well, that's the point, sweetheart." Okay? And so then we put out all the little round, pieces, and I tell her, "Okay, pick up the yellow piece and put it on the yellow peg." And I'm telling you, Kelly, it was a nanosecond. She just put her hand out like that over there. She picked up the yellow piece. She couldn't see anything, put it on the yellow peg, and my son went like, "Whoa," okay? Like, that was wild. So now she's 3, she got all excited, she couldn't do it again, we didn't even try, we just
Yeah.
left, we didn't even
Yeah,
do it
be
again.
excited about that. Yeah.
Leave it, it's in your body, you know that this works. So now my 5-year-old grandson's like, "Oh, my turn, my turn." So he goes and he hit the first 3 immediately, boom, 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 just like that. We stopped him after 3. So again, why? Because I want to anchor into the body that this is easy, this is effortless, and this can be done. So that was one set. Then the other grandkids, we were playing a game. I wrote about it in one of my newsletters. Took a game, we took a deck of playing cards, regular playing cards, right? And what I just loved about him, he was 6 and his sister is 4. So I was like, "Okay, listen, we're gonna play a game. And here's our deck. This is our deck of cards. And oop, there's our deck. All
Oh,
right. You can
cute.
see those. And you cannot see the card onto here because I don't know what it is either. And I'm just gonna go like this, and you can touch the card. And what I want you to do is I want you to tell me if it's a black card or if it's black or if you see black or you see red. And then I explained to them, like,
Mm.
that. But we didn't get into suits and numbers because they're 6 and 4. So anyway, he was skipping around and he'd come back. He'd skip, Kelly. It wasn't like, oh, he was skipping around the room and he'll come over to me and he'll go, "That's red." And it was like, we did 24 cards. He got 20 correct like that. All right. And his sister did 18. She probably would have had more had she not been listening to some of his things. All right. So she hadn't.
I think also what you said about letting him skip around is something that people might miss, that they feel like you have to concentrate, sit here and concentrate. No, let the kid be a kid and do it how it feels good in their body.
Yeah, I loved that he was skipping around the room like that, and then he'd come back and go, "Can I touch it?" I said, "Absolutely." And he'd go, "Oh, black." It was like, hit, hit, hit,
So
and
you were
so
trying to get him to guess the one underneath the top car that you
no,
could
it's just
see.
always the top card. So I would move it. So like, for example, do you, well, we know already because I showed you the card, red or black, and then you'd go red. And then it's like, okay, we got a hit. I don't know what,
Okay. Oh, and you flip it up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I don't know what this card is. Okay. So
Mhm.
red or black. Okay. Black. All right. So
And all this stuff
that's
can be
how
done with the items you have at home. You don't need to go out with,
you don't
like,
need to
a
buy
shopping.
anything except for
Yeah,
blinders if you want, okay? But
right.
kids are great, like this kind of thing. Nobody needs blinders for this, all right? And it's
Mhm.
simple. And then you get it into their body that they can do it. So now what happens is, and I got to tell a quick story. Can I tell a quick story?
Yes.
Because this is going to segue. A woman called me, emailed me, and said, "Hey, I want to do some work with my son, and he's really great at mind sight." For people who are not familiar with mind sight, this is the ability to see without eyes. Again, you could read, and he can read. She said, "I want him to continue to develop his abilities." And I said, "Well, he has developed his abilities. He can read. What more do you want from him?" So, "Well, I want him to be able to." I said, "Well, let's relax on this one a little bit and start to move away from the phenomena because he is bored with this. He
Mm.
can do it." And so once the children can do it, they become bored with the activity. It's not a novelty for them and they're not performance performance well,
I get it.
whatever.
It's not that doesn't drive them anymore. They're like, "Oh, yeah, that's just," and
Mhm,
how wonderful to be so confident in it that it's as
mhm,
easy as,
mhm.
like, "Well, I'm looking at you right now. I'm not, like, it's not exciting." Like, t it's exciting to
Right.
see you, but, you know.
No,
But,
exactly.
yes, so I get it. How do you keep it interesting?
Well, that's where the second part that's where the new work comes in that I'm doing,
Okay.
okay? But we'll get back into that, all right? Because what do you do with that? All right, that lends itself to the teaching that I'm working on right now, which is the psi ontology,
And I think
psychic being,
the
beings.
answer to my question that I had when you were talking about these games in the book, is the word piece. But what happens? So I have a 9-year-old, so she's kind of on the cusp of that puberty that you're talking about. And we were playing the game where we're laying in bed at night and we're trying to send each other colors or send
Mhm.
each other a number. And frankly, neither of one of us was really getting it right. But I made sure I didn't say, "Oh no, you're wrong. It was a 3." It was like, "Oh, next one," or, "Oh, it was a 3," not like it wasn't a 2. So the words are important, but how do you make sure that when you're not getting hits that you keep it positive? Because that might be
Okay.
some, like, your
Well,
kid might not get every card
they're
right.
not. No, of course
Yeah.
not. Of course not. So we stop for the day and then we'll start again. It's just like us. Okay. So look at it like this. You want to work with expectations first. Okay. So you do want to set up your stage. So tonight, let's say, for example, you're in bed with your daughter. Okay. And you're lying there and you set the stage to, hey, we're going to play a game. We're going to play a telepathy game. I'm going to think of a color and you're going to tell me what I'm thinking of. So there's a couple of things that need to happen in that. Okay. So first of all, that's, called in the world of psychic abilities, this is called sending and receiving. There is a sender and then there's a receiver. The person sending has got to stay focused. That is on the sender.
Okay.
So um the sender has to, let's say you're doing a color. The sender has, well, whatever it looks like, the sender can visualize the color in their head, in their mind's eye. They see red, 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 and then they repeat it red, 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 red. Then before you do that, you set the receiver up. So you have to set the receiver up for success. So what does that look like? You're going to tell the receiver, a color is gonna fly by. It's gonna come. You're gonna feel something, you're gonna see something, you're gonna hear something. The first color that goes through, even if it's just like this, like quickly, boom, like a nanosecond, that's the one I want you to say.
Mhm.
So there's
Mhm.
no room for second guessing or for thinking. This is not a long thinking activity. This is the sender goes red, 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 and then the receiver goes, okay, you want to play a game? I
Right
don't know.
now, you wanna do it? Yeah, let's do it.
Let's put
Well, and when I was
ourselves.
telling her, so some people have a hard time visualizing, and I said, for me, it helps when I'm sending, not just, I mean, I am saying red, 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 but I'm seeing a stop sign. Like, to have an item that
Mhm,
is the color helps me hold it longer. So I
mhm,
can't just see red as easily as I can see a stop sign in my brain.
mhm,
I don't know if that
mhm.
helps anybody, but that was something I learned in doing it, and I told her, "Hey, whatever works best for you to keep it in your brain." Like, yellow is Big Bird for me, you know?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, let's play a game.
Okay, well, let's pick a color, okay? Are you good with
Okay.
a color?
Yes.
And it's gonna be one of the primary colors, so let's just so we don't
Okay.
know we're not going into all of those. Alright, go for it, girl, just go for it.
Alright, so I'm gonna send you, or am I
Oh,
receiving?
I was gonna send you, is that
Yes,
okay?
that's right. Oh,
Alright,
that's what I
okay,
thought.
cool,
Alright, so I'm
alright.
gonna receive. You tell me when you're
Mhm.
ready.
Okay, I'm ready, I've been going at this.
It's primary, so it's not purple. Hang on. Let's try it one more time. Red.
Alright, was that the first color that you got?
Yeah.
With the first thing? Alright, it was blue.
Okay.
Alright,
Well, so red and
purple.
blue make purple. Hang on. But see, that's why it can be fun. You can justify anything and then it just feels good, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying you wanna have fun with this, all right? So, one of the things that I do, and it's in the book also, I do this every morning, when I not every morning, I do this every morning when I tell myself, "You're gonna do this today, all right? You're
I
gonna
hear
do
you.
this in the morning." All right? And I get music in the background, okay? So, I'll get, like, a binaural beat, or I'll get music that will drop me deep into alpha, and
Mhm.
then what I do is I go through the deck of cards, and with the deck of cards, I actually talk to the card because I talk to everything.
Yeah.
And I ask the card, reveal yourself. Who are you? What are you? What color are you? What's your psalm? What's, are you, what's your set suit?
Hmm.
Suit? Yeah.
Yeah, suit.
It's
Yeah.
like, oh, words. Okay. And
You're
who
getting
are
an
you?
alpha already.
Right. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And then I'll just go for it. Like, I don't know if yeah, okay. I had a king or queen over here. So then I start to mark that I look at how successful I am at that. And I don't get upset over myself. Sometimes I'm on, and meaning sometimes I'm really in tune. It works. And there are times where it's nothing.
Hmm.
And I just go back the next day. Right now, the highest I have gotten is 11 cards correct out of the 52 deck. So 11 in a row, boom, boom, boom. Now I want to share what happens. Okay, stuff happens to the body. And I
Hmm.
can't speak for everybody, but what happens for me when I hit the 11th card correctly, I got scared.
Hmm.
And why did I get scared? I got scared. What if I miss? Okay.
Hmm.
And it was like, well, you did 11 already. Why are you? So now the monkey mind started kicking in. Well, what? And I'm by myself. So who cares if I miss? All right. I cared. What if you miss? What if it's not right? What if you get it wrong? And then all of this conversation started happening. And then the other conversation started coming in like, what if you get it right? And then what will that mean if you get them right? What would that mean? And so it was actually, I was frightened. All right, believe it or not. It was one of those like, oh my God, what's next? I missed. And that was the last time that I've been able to do 11 in a row. I think I'm up to 4 in a row again. I'm starting from scratch all over again. Only it's a game.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And is there a way to tell? Can you feel the difference in how the information comes in when you're correct versus when you're guessing? Like when you're trying to pick the first thing that comes into your mind. I
Yeah.
have a hard time not using my imagination of what's coming in my mind versus receiving what's coming into my mind.
All right. And how do you know the difference between imagination? Because imagination is everything. So how do you know?
I don't know. That's what I'm working
Okay.
on this whole
Right.
process.
So for me, when as soon as it becomes a thinking, like there's a second in where your self-talk, like, oh, can it be the queen of hearts?
Hmm.
There's like a second of self-talk. And in that second of
Hmm.
self-talk, then you know that you're in a beta, you know that you're you know that you're no longer in alpha.
It's so
So there's
fast.
a good chance that you won't be correct on that. And then there are times where I'll just like have it over here and there's like a knowing. I'll touch it. All right.
Hmm.
And I was like, show me who you are. I know who you are. I know you're like an 8 of spades or something. All right, but you're not, but
Yeah,
that's all.
yeah, but it's just
Where
fun to
are you?
see.
Ages? Okay. But my point is that it's almost like a knowing. All right. It's a cultivating that. It's for me, it's a feeling. It's a feeling, it's a knowing. I know.
Mhm, mhm. And how do you bridge the gap from that, which is a feeling and a knowing, and then literally opening up your windows and mind sight? When some of these children that you've worked with, have you seen them be able to, like, if they're reading, their windows are open. They're not just feeling the words on the page.
Mm-mm. No, they're seeing it. And so here's the other thing. Now, when you get into as an adult, it's different to do this. As an adult, it's different
Mhm.
than as a child because it's just really open. It is open. And um I don't have an answer.
I don't think we know, right? I think it's just maybe when it's open, it's that possibility and getting back to the ontological, just how you speak to yourself and what your belief system is. And I'm
so
trying to tell my kids, look, I saw this in person. This is real. People
yeah.
are doing this. And then I think that's the only way for us to continue to open up when you have, especially as an adult, the proof that you need to believe. which is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
you really it's in the language, it's in the self-talk, it's in reprogramming what's possible. I remember many years ago when I was first, practicing mind sight, and I was at a school, and we were blindfolded, and not only were we blindfolded, we were also, but it's different kind of mind sight than reading, okay? We were blindfolded, and then the blindfolds were also duct taped,
Mm,
okay? So there was no way that anybody was gonna see through anything, and we were placed out in a field. The field is probably a half an acre, and there were these index cards that we had drawn, and they were placed in plastic bags along the fence. And so we were then spun around. There were many of us, and we had to walk to our card, our index card, and find it. And I was, there are people that you're walking around. There are people I'm bumping into. There are things, and I have to tell you that when I did it for the first time, and I'm blindfolded like this. I'm on this large field, and I walk straight to a card, take off my blinders, look at the card, and it is mine. Something happened in my body. Something
mhm,
happened to me. There's no way that I could ever recreate that feeling or sensation, but it was at that moment that I knew that all of this is possible and it is just a matter. And it wasn't that was not the was the first time I found it, but it wasn't the last time. And from there, it just got better and stronger. And, again, all things are possible when we start to use parts of our knowing in a
mhm.
different way.
Absolutely, and then that's just again, going back to the question of why do this? Why try to cultivate it? Your basis for it is this is just an opening to confidence and trust in ourselves and knowing who we are. It's an on-ramp to it. So it's just
Mhm.
fun and games and hey, the abilities are a wonderful byproduct, but that's really not the point.
No, it's not. It's the point of knowing that, again, that you as an entity, as a human being, are capable of so much more. So then you're going for a job interview and you're afraid you're not going to get it. Why? Why would you be afraid that you're not going to get it when, if your qualifications are in alignment with what they're looking for, then you have the ability within you to make this manifest. And you can manifest it through your desire, your intention, your inner knowing. You can manifest through your third eye. And so we have so much power to alter things in the world that of course it's going to be uh taken from us by anyone who's afraid, any institution or entities that fear human beings being able to take control of their lives and what they are capable of doing. And
And
that's
it's
what
just life experience sometimes that happens. I mean, you're talking about kids, if their confidence is so fragile because they're the little sponges that are absorbing everything, and that doesn't mean there's so many people these days that don't like the participation trophy and don't they want to teach kids that they're still you have to work hard for your goals, and I think there's a place for both while still encouraging a child's confidence and
right.
that just doing the act of trying can build confidence even if you fail, like these games, like even it's not failing, of course, it's just a game, and even if you don't get every card right, the one when you start to feel that feeling of trust inside of you, like
Right.
what.
And Kelly, I always look at it like this it's with anything. Imagine when it's the expectation that people have. So you want to always look at what are the expectations of the parents. If you stuck your 3-year-old or 4-year-old in front of a piano and say, play,
Mm.
if they're not a Mozart, they're going to have to go through the process of learning how to play piano. And there are going to be days where they're going to play a little bit better. And it's going to take years and years and years of practice to become a master at playing piano. And that is the same thing with any skill that we have. is mastery in it. So you're not just a performance monkey sitting down and getting it all right, and then it's gonna go away, and it will leave if it is
Mm,
not nurtured, okay? When the beta brain kicks in, it will go. So you may be highly intuitive and psychic as a child, and then if this is not continued and fostered as an adult, you're going to begin to lose this. You're gonna second guess yourself, and a whole lot of other stuff is gonna come in because that's the way your brain is processes information. But now back to what can we do with this?
mm,
Well, what I did with it, just as an example, is when I was working inner city in New York, I created a program. It's in the book. It's called The Power to Create. And we used they used their abilities for taking the test, because that is part of the curriculum at the time, was to teach to the test so that
mhm.
children would take standardized tests and they would perform well on the test. So leading up to the tests, we programmed I programmed them, and meaning that the test is going to be, again, this gets into affirmations, it gets into language, it gets into encompassing it into the body. The test is easy and effortless for me to do. The answers come to me naturally. I will know the correct, remember, it's all multiple choice. I will know the correct answer. Okay, how do they know the correct answer? Because we've been practicing intuitive development. We'd been practicing remote viewing. It was a special program that they were in, okay?
Mhm.
And, we had the highest test scores in the district for that particular class grade, and it was the old, "Oh, what is she doing in the classroom?" Well, what we were doing in the classroom was that we were r using the children were using their abilities, they were using their confidence, and they knew the answers.
And that is the coolest thing because it's not just, standardized testing can be just the necessary evil sometimes of school, right? They need the data and yada yada, but that's just a little microcosm of what your day-to-day life is. So like the test of life. What is the right answer? Let me see. Do I go to the Publix or the Kroger today? I mean, I'm coming up with a silly
Yeah,
answer,
no,
but your
it's a
body
legit
can tell you
it's a
what
legit
is
question.
what is
Mhm,
my intuition telling me the right place to go is
mhm,
today.
mhm, mhm. Right.
And that's just using the standardized test is brilliant because the kids are just gonna only trust themselves more.
Mhm, yeah.
And
So
who
that's
doesn't wanna just know the answer?
well, sometimes the and then we can argue that philosophically, maybe the answers are not for us to know, but, that's a
Mm.
different question. The point is that the point was and is that they gained confidence in themselves and that they actually used their abilities that we were working on to get them through an anxiety producing event, because
Mm.
those tests are very anxiety producing.
So
And
did you ever have pushback from parents or administration that how you were teaching their from the surface, how is teaching intuition and listening to your heart anything that somebody would object to? But I'm sure there's some sort of pushback that you
well,
encountered.
this is an interesting thing, okay? So the first of all, the administration that I worked in was very open, and so they loved results, and she was very open. She's no longer with us on the
Mhm.
planet, but she was very open to this. The pushback came from me. It's like, you're not gonna believe this. The pushback came when I was teaching children how to read, okay? And that I was still incorporating what is considered, I mean, I left public education in 2008. I'm telling you that right now. So back in 2008, when I left public education, they were not allowed to read out loud. So as an educator, been teaching for, decades.
Mm.
How do I know if you know how to read if you're not reading something to me? And so I was having the kids read out loud when a group of administrators and
Oh,
from the board came in, and people from the district came into the room, and they saw the child reading out loud, and then I was reprimanded. I got in trouble
I've
for
never heard of that.
well, there's a lot of things that go on in the educational system
Wow.
that
I'm
we
so
do
glad my kids haven't faced that. I mean,
um, well, you
yeah,
wouldn't even know. You wouldn't know because these are things that nobody said anything in front of the kids. They wouldn't know. But,
right. So meanwhile, we're learning about mindfulness, and they're like, "Okay, cool, but just don't read out loud."
Yeah, just don't read it out loud, okay. 'Cause you don't want to make somebody feel insecure about their reading abilities.
Oh, that's why. Okay, I
Mm,
was wondering what the
yeah.
method to that was.
Only again, if we, within a group of 30, it's, I need to know how they read. And, so anyway, it was the logistics. We could argue, well, you could pull them aside and have them read a little bit to you privately. Yeah, I got 30 kids in that room. Okay. So, it's logistics. And I just had some of the kids read out loud a couple of paragraphs and anyway, it's a different story.
And I was trying to think about just comparing it to what I understand now in the classroom. I know that my kids will read books in the class all together, and they can volunteer to read out loud. Now, of course, it's the same ones who want to, but the specific teacher I'm thinking about, she would encourage them to volunteer. And even if they were scared, the other kids in the classroom, they made it like a team thing. Like we're going to encourage each other, and made sure nobody makes fun of anybody. If they're
Right.
struggling, you cheer them on, and you're just proud of each other for
Mhm.
trying. So
And
that's just they just have to create a culture of that. I know
that's
that's easier said than done, but
right.
I cannot imagine not being able, like, have being in those parameters. But again, I'm glad to know that it sort of was one of those things, not fly under the radar, but just speaking, asking questions for the teachers out there who feel like they can't implement this in the classroom because parents might perceive it as bringing religion in when that's not what this is. You're
Mhm,
just
mhm.
careful with the wording, I suppose.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're just playing games and we're doing, things that we're just well, you just change the language.
It's not prayer. You're talking to your heart. And that's how you
Mhm.
teach when you're doing mindfulness. You're
Well,
listening.
I even approach it differently. I didn't like back in the day, I don't even
Mhm.
bring in anything. It's like mine is very cerebral, okay, which is we all talk to ourselves. You're always talking to yourself. Your mind is never silent. If you think you're not talking to yourself, hey, then you're not in tune with what's going on in your head. So you got monkey mind going on all the time. So now, what do you want monkey mind to say? You could either control monkey mind or monkey mind can control you. So the affirmations were our way of working with controlling monkey mind.
And
So
then
it's
sorry to
very
interrupt, but I
involved.
love the visual of the sock puppet that you use in the book. So you made a sock puppet. I mean, I think this is brilliant. Like, I wanna do this with my kids. And you say, "Look, here is the voice inside your head, and see how it's separate than you?" And, for instance, like, "Kelly, you're not gonna be prepared enough for this episode, even though you read the book and you met Ellie in person, and this is gonna be hard." And then I say, "Nope." I just love the sock puppet. I think that's just a little, not to give away the book because everyone should read
No,
it, but
no, and there's another thing that we did that's not in the book was that we drew I brought paper into the classroom and we drew figures of our bodies, okay? So the kids would lie down and then somebody else would trace it and everybody had like these big bodies, okay? And then we hung the bodies up along the walls and then we would have the voices that would come out. So like if a kid was angry, what voice is that? Oh, that's the voice of fear. Okay, so what's coming out? And then they had fear voices. Then they had worry voices. Then I mean, worry and fear is the same, but for depending on the age of the
you're just
child,
naming it for them.
we
Yeah.
were naming it things. And then, oh, this is the voice of happiness. This is when I'm happy. And so we started to work. We put the ones that were not like if you think of the consciousness scale
Mhm.
from Hawkins, the ones that created anxiety went down further, lower chakras. Okay, but
Mhm.
they weren't doing chakras or anything like
Yeah.
that. And the other voices were higher, higher, higher. So it was just, oh, they loved it. They would go over and point to if somebody was upset or something, they would go over and point to the kid and say, oh, look, Donna's over here in her anger voice. Okay. What will it take to get her up there higher? Come on, Donna. It's
Oh.
just great stuff. Anything, it's up to your imagination
Mhm.
how and what you want to do to encourage children to learn this work, and it can be so fun.
I think it is so fun. I really do encourage people to get your book because it's so grounded in that it's a jumping off point. So just like you described, there's everything you read in your book is nothing that a parent would ever be concerned that their child is learning at school, no matter where you are on the spectrum with this type of information. And
Mm,
then it's all backed in a sciencey way where you have all the references, and if you're interested in this, here, go look more into that. That's
Right.
what it's such a great platform to get started. So anyway,
Thank
just
you.
not to
Thank you.
brag on you, but a big plug for Ellie's book.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it took a while to write, and it's back out in print again now. So I'm very happy that it's there.
Well, speaking of books, can you tell us about your domino book, the
Oh my
children's book?
God, yes. Okay. So this book is a journey. This is absolutely a journey.
And I need to buy it. I'll admit it. Didn't get it, and I now regret it.
Okay, well, just email me, okay, and I'll send you a copy.
Oh,
So
thanks.
this is Annabelle and the Domino. So look, I
Okay.
want to share a little bit about this book because I personally love this story. So this is based on a true story. When I used to teach out in Washington State, and I always called it the magic school. I moved from New York and brought my own son, which is I think it's in Children Who Know How to Know. I think it might be in there. I'm not really sure. I moved from New York and I went to a school in Washington that taught remote viewing, blindfolded archery.
I mean, what year was this?
2008.
Yeah. So
Okay,
cool.
that's when I left New York City.
Mm.
And I had the opportunity, I came across this school. My own son, my youngest son was now going into 6th grade. I did not want him in public education. I wanted him to learn the things that I knew how to do, okay?
Mhm.
It's just like,
Yeah.
I want you to do this too, dude, okay?
And
So
they learn it so much better from someone outside their parent, let's be
of
honest.
course. So I had the opportunity to go teach at this particular school. So I took my son, we went to Washington and I showed him the school. I thought for sure he was going to come back and tell me, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. But then he just looked at it and he said, okay, when are we moving? Right. And I said, all
Cool.
right, all done. I took the job. We moved in June of 2008. So September 2008 started teaching. Fast forward, I loved this school. Like I said, we were able to do so much. Blindfolded archery, remote viewing, telekinesis was practiced also. So there was a little girl, 6-year-old little girl, and they were working on dominoes. And what does that look like to move a domino with your mind? First of all, you got to sit, got to be positioned so that you're not touching the table. It has to be monitored, so that there's no cheating. All right. Like, oh,
There's no fan in the corner, right.
let me move the table with my leg and the whole thing falls down. Anyway, it took practice. I mean, the book, it doesn't go into all the details of the real account, but the book is a fictionalized version of how this happened. And she moved the domino. And so here was the interesting thing. It was she moved the domino, it fell. Later on in my own class, 2 other kids moved the dominoes. So they fell also. So a total of 3 children during my lifetime, okay? And um I just felt compelled to write this story, to share it. And again, when some of the kids in the class read the book after it was published, there's like, oh, that's kind of boring. Everybody knows how to do that. And it's like, okay. All right. Remember the context. Okay.
You're like, "You are not the case study that I need. You are just the catalyst, but yeah, this isn't for you." Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. So, back when I did go to print this book, it was done. There was no, there was no Amazon printing.
Mhm.
It had to be done through publishing through. So it was self-published and it was, um, yeah, it
I
was
love
self.
the illustrator, and that's half of it, finding a good partner for that, or unless you did it.
No, 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 no,
It's
no.
amazing, though. I mean, what an awesome story of
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah, yeah. And so the point is that the book is still available. You'd have to email me
Oh,
to
okay.
for a copy, and I will gladly send you one, Kelly. But if anybody else is interested, please email me or go to my website, and you can get a copy. You could request a copy.
Okay, that's great to know, because I think more stories like that show. We keep talking about the 4 minute mile situation at the side games, and I think that's just what it is for kids. Once they understand, oh, Annabelle could do it, why can't
Mhm.
I? Then
Mhm.
you can do it. Like, just that's what happened with the other 2 children, right, in the class. They saw that she
Yeah,
did it,
yeah,
and they
they
can do
can
it
do it.
too.
They can do it. And
Here's the challenge: how do you get them to sit there for 20 minutes and keep trying?
Okay, so that's a good question. So here's where it's in the book. It's in the other book. It's in Children Who Know How to Know.
Okay.
We started, and I say we, there were other teachers. I wasn't the only one. We started teaching focus work at age 3. So what does that look like? You sit still. Okay. So you're not going to focus for 10 minutes when you're 3 years old.
Mhm.
All right. However, if you learn, again, one of the things that we keep telling our kids is, oh, focus, concentrate, focus. Only nobody teaches a child how to focus. Parents just use the word focus, but there's no, are we doing it? No, we're on our phones. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're not actually sitting down focusing. So we took a fake candle, an electric candle, right? And put the electric candle there. The children learn to tuck away their body. What does that mean?
Mhm.
You sit in yoga pose. You put your fingers in what I call the zoot position. All right. You put fingers like that and you put them on your knees. And now for the next minute, and I'm going to time it with the timer. I'm going to hear the beep. For the next minute, you look at the candle and do not move. You do not move. If you feel like you're going to itch or scratch, you pay attention to the itch or the scratch. You do not move. And if you can start to do this, Kelly, for yourself, and you could sit there, this is entry into a gateway that is different from meditation.
Mm, very cool. And so when you say different from meditation, how so?
Well, it depends on the form of meditation, all right? If you're
Okay.
doing creative visualization, then of course your mind is active and you're visualizing
Mhm.
things and you're creating a scene that you want to have. So that's a form of meditation. Again, if you're just sitting there relaxed and your monkey mind is running through the meditation, or you're not doing a mantra or a few mantras, it's hard to, again, it's the experience on this one. So
Mhm.
when you do the candle focus, or I call it candle focus because I use a real candle. I'm an adult.
Mhm.
When you do the candle focus, what happens in the body becomes very interesting. So you become really aware of your body, and then you have to train, you have to resist the body. It's you got to practice this, and you'll
I get it.
understand
I know
exactly.
exactly what you mean, and I think we actually just talked about light and that sort of meditative state that's specific to concentrating on like a campfire or a candle, or and how you do start to lose your body. So you feel it, right, and then you start to feel like you're everywhere all at once.
That's right. That's right. And yeah. And the zones that you can go into, with practice are just incredible.
But what a fabulous point! We all tell our kids to focus all the time, but we don't teach them how.
Right, they don't know how to, they don't even know what it means, okay? Focus, focus. I was watching, the 3-year-olds on the soccer field chasing balls, okay? Run, run, focus, focus. I'm thinking to myself, they don't have a clue what that focus is. They know how to run, but what are they doing with the word focus, okay?
Well, and when I think about when I get in a really focused state, often I feel like my ADHD is actually kicking in where I'm hyper focused. So that hyper focus is a state. And I never really thought of it that way. It's a
Mhm,
state that you get into because
mhm.
you're almost being hypnotized by what your intention.
You're in trance, yes. You're
Hmm.
in a trance. Mhm.
And I'm not, like, clinically diagnosed, but that's what it feels like because
Oh.
it's just like if someone interrupts me, I almost get mad because you're like, "I am in this space, like, when you interrupt me, I've gotta get back in it, and I'm gonna forget it all." So, I mean, the trance, is definitely a place that you go, and
It's
how are
magic.
kids supposed to know about it if they
Mm,
haven't experienced it? I
that's
love
right.
the candle on that it has battery power, so no teacher, no parent can say that, "Oh, it's fire.
No,
It's
yeah,
dangerous."
you're not allowed to bring a candle. I don't know, maybe in a private school, only people don't I don't think kids are allowed to have candles in
Well,
there.
again, it just there's no excuses. Just get a
Right.
battery powered candle
That's
for each table if they're all at tables, and
yeah.
then you get to share your experiences afterwards. Kids
Isn't that
love to
great?
tell you what they
Mhm.
experienced.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's a really good one. Okay, so we talked about what's possible when we raise kids to know, how to know, and let's get into the language of that. So the psi ontology. You want to talk
Okay.
about
Yeah,
the
right,
power of
yes.
words?
So, I started very simply in this book. This is like the book 1, all right?
Mhm,
And now what I've discovered, and this is going now, Kelly, this is more from an experience not with working with children. This is the experience of working with the adults in my consulting programs.
mhm,
And for example, let's just say, oh, let's take anybody. Let's take an example really quickly. I want to write a book. Okay. I want to write
mhm,
a book. And so the monkey mind starts, right? Now, who's going to read? There's certain questions that just come up automatically. Well, who's going to read the book and how are you going to get it published? And there are these questions that these questions are not even from us. These are questions that are programmed from, right? You know where I'm going in this,
I
right?
just love it because it's just people don't think about this. It's just they think, "Oh, it's hard. I have all these questions that I don't have the answers to." But do
Right,
you?
and we don't even think about where these questions come from in
Mhm,
the monkey mind, all right? We think that they're ours. And so after working and seeing the same questions over and over again, no matter what the business was that people wanted to create, it just one day like hit me, like this is our world view.
mhm,
And the language reflects the world view. And like I was saying during the presentation at the Psy Games,
mhm,
the worldview that we are in, is there something wrong? And
mm,
if we continually to look at the world that there's something wrong with you, something wrong with me, something wrong with the children, something wrong. I'm sorry, I'm making faces. But if we continuously look at what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, well, guess what? The container becomes we're living in the matrix of what's wrong. And I started to identify ways of behaving. This is the Scientology being. So I started identifying certain ways of being. Then I identified the words that went with these ways of being, and I created an entire structure, and I practiced it for 2 years in the academy, which was a program that I created specifically to kinda test run this with
mhm,
the participants. Everyone in that program, and I tell you, and I say everyone, there were 24 people went through the program in 2 years. They created miracles in their lives. Okay,
mhm,
well, what are miracles? Miracles are creating their dreams, writing books, traveling, getting into relationships. You could say, well, anybody could do this. Yeah, but there's a level of doing it, and there's a difference in doing it. And the amount of people that are working now from the 24 are working on a global scale.
mm,
So their impact is not just one of, oh, I'm gonna get into a relationship and I'm gonna be happily ever after. They have taken their stuff and they have gone out. And unfortunately I cannot mention any names and what they're doing, but these names in large communities are known. They're known and their work is known. And all of this shifted within the 6 months that they were with me in the academy, using new language, using a new model of looking at the world. And I just remember everybody's talking about this, and I do want to share this. Everyone is talking about, oh, we're in a new paradigm. We're in a new paradigm. If you think back to COVID, oh, we're living in uncertain times. Well, hell, we've always been, excuse the language, we have always lived. Every day is uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen. So that is conditioning brought on us. Now people are starting to say we're in a new paradigm. We are not in a paradigm. And I go into that. There's a difference between a paradigm and what is known in philosophy as an episteme. There have only been 3 epistemes in the entire history of the Western civilization so far. We are now entered into the 4th. And that is why we need to really look at our language. We need to look at our worldview. We need to look at our possibilities, our psi abilities, and create this new world that everyone's talking about in the spiritual realm. Otherwise, you're just putting on a different coat onto an existing body that has all sorts of ailments, and you haven't changed anything.
mhm, mhm.
And
Well,
that's
let's talk
what
about
makes
some of
you
the words because should and try are
it
are
goes okay, so should and try, yeah. So these words are in the book,
mhm,
but in the Scientology that I'm working, it goes beyond to specific words. It actually goes into altering the world view through being who are
okay. So it's
okay,
not just the
so
words you're
not
using,
just
that's
the
just
word.
the gateway to the being.
That's right.
Okay.
Mhm, yeah.
So, tell how do you do that? I mean, is there a little tidbit on what you're changing the words? And then so say I use the word especially with other people, that really resonated with me when you talk about using shoulds with other people. First of all, just the negative power that has over them, especially your children or your spouse. I mean, "You should
Mhm,
do this, you should do that."
mhm.
Nobody wants to listen to that, and
No.
that's not building anyone up or doing anything that's good, but even if you use it within yourself.
Well, you're always making yourself wrong with that.
Mhm.
So, again, remember that sock puppet? So, if you're over here, "Oh, Kelly, you know what? You should have that, blah, blah." You're never gonna be
Go to the
wrong. You're
gym, you
living
shouldn't eat that ice cream.
there you go. You're living in a world view of not good enough
Mhm.
and that there's something wrong. And so by recognizing, oh, now I'm in that world of there's something wrong, I'm not good enough. Well, what do I want to do with that? Do I want to shatter that world? I'm going to shatter that world. I'm going to shatter that view. I live in a world where everything is of my creation and other people's creation. So now I'm beginning to extend my worldview. And this takes consciousness and takes awareness. So it's not like I can give you a little quick
No,
tidbit
sure.
other than begin to become conscious. The tidbit would be check your language and check your thoughts. If you look and you don't know what you're thinking, then take a look at, I always call it my Stewie. Do you know Family Guy, Stewie? Are you
Yeah. Oh,
familiar?
yeah.
All right, you know the football head, right? Right.
Uh-huh.
So okay. You want to look at your head and divide it in two. Put a top head and a bottom head of the football. And the top head, the part of the world, top head will those thoughts reveal your circumstances. So when I'm working with a client, I can tell what that client is thinking and what that client's self talk is. And it's not about being psychic by their circumstances, because your outer world will always reflect your inner world, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's just what's so. Sun's going to shine today, whether there's a cloud or not. And that's just what's
Mm. Mhm.
so. Then what I do is I look at people's outer worlds and what they've got going, and then I ask them, well, obviously they're working with me. Okay. That's why they're paying me. We change the, we change the other thoughts. And then
Mhm.
as we change the other thoughts, it is a process. It's awareness. The outer world begins to change.
So with my kids, if I say you should do your homework and I catch myself, do I ask them, um, do you I don't want to say do you want to do your homework? Like what how do you switch the language in that scenario?
Okay, well, it depends on how you're raising them. Like, it's time to do homework,
Yeah.
sweethearts. Okay, you get structure. Hey, it's time to do homework. Okay. Why? Because homework's required by your school. This is your teacher.
But telling them and it's telling them the same result, but it's using your words does matter
It
because
does.
when you're telling somebody
Absolutely.
what they should do, immediately they're going to be
Well,
defensive.
of course, you become rebellious, and then you're going
Mhm.
to get rebellious children, and they're not, and it gets into that entire spiral. So, let's set up a structure where it's time to do your homework. Let's
Yeah.
create something. It takes effort on a parent's part. Again, but look at what happens when you should do your homework. Now, look where the conversation's going to go. I don't want that. All right. So now you have resistance. And what happens in that energy field of resistance? There's no winner in that. It's going to
Mhm.
escalate. Parents are going to get frustrated and cajole, or they're going to bribe, or they're going to do, I mean, it just gets into manipulation. And that is part of the worldview. And I am altering that. So I am going to do everything I can during my lifetime to alter that worldview. And I'm committed to this.
So
And
when you say,
so,
"Hey, let's can you XYZ?" They'll say, I'll try." And say, you know, that's such a innate thing
right,
we
here
say,
we
"I'll
go.
try," but I love that trying just insinuates that you can't.
Well, if you try, you're not doing anything. Okay.
Mhm.
Remember, like, it's like, oh, I'm going to try to get this pen from over here. Ugh,
Yeah.
ugh. Either I'm gonna get the pen or I'm not gonna get the pen. I'm either going to do it or I'm not gonna do it. Remember Yoda? There is no try, okay?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
that simple. And so give that up in the language, all right? "Oh, we're gonna try to do this. No, let's do this. We're gonna experiment. Let's see if this works." It takes awareness and cognition on the person who's speaking, on their part. All right. You
It's
can't
just
just
something people your everyday person is just not thinking about. That's the best part is the awareness that you're bringing
well,
to it just as the
this is the
first
whole
step.
thing.
Mhm.
First step is awareness, okay? And then there's gotta be a willingness to make the change. Right, you gotta have otherwise, you're gonna hear like, "Ugh, who cares about that?" Okay, well, when you tell me, "Ugh, who cares about that?" and you're not interested, I don't even I don't even bother. I'm at that point where, "Okay,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what you got. That's it." Whether you believe it or you don't believe it, I'm not here to fix you. I'm just gonna share with you this is what works here. And so these are opportunities. You can either choose A or choose B. It's up to the individual. And if you do choose to live a life of conscious creation, then there are steps that you need to take. You do need to follow some sort of protocol. You have to become aware. And the
And
first
that talking about making it a game for everyone in a household, like, what kid doesn't wanna catch their parents on
Oh,
something?
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But, "Mom, nope, nope," and I mean, my youngest, she is a pistol, and she'll tell me right away, "I think you should probably take your own advice,"
You should.
and and so if I tell her that this is something we're trying to do as not trying, this is something we are doing as a family. We're
Yeah.
gonna make this list of words is gonna be out of our vocabulary, and I need your help to call me on it. Oh, she can't wait. She
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I remember I don't I remember when, I was working with my youngest son, and we were learning to distinguish and it's in the book also, I believe I talk about stories, what we make up about other people and
Okay.
what we make up about ourselves. There's a little bit about, "Oh, he doesn't like me." Well,
Mhm.
there's not based on fact, it's you making that up, okay? So,
Mhm.
anyway, I get into stories, and so I taught my son at a very early age. Okay, he was 8 when I first started talking to him about making up stories and making things mean things that they don't, okay? So this is a bird, and it doesn't mean that it's a peace bird unless this is what we decide that it means. A bird is a bird unless we change the meaning to it. We give it meaning. It's intentional. And so whenever he started telling stories, I would say, "Oh, I think that sounds like a story to me. Okay, what really happened? Oh, Joe pushed me. Okay. All right, well, that really happened. That's what's so."
Mhm.
And so afterwards, he's so trained in stories. Now he's a young man. Okay, so he's so trained in stories that the moment I go into a story for like 2 seconds, I just have to open my mouth, and he goes, "Uh huh, uh huh. That's a good story, huh? All right, next."
And what a beautiful mirror now that you have, you're and stories meaning I love the one that you give about and everybody gets in a mood, right? Where it just feels like nobody likes me
Mhm,
or especially kids and
mhm,
girls, I'll just say from at least that's my experience where this person at school, they just don't want to be my friend. And that's the
mhm,
stories you're talking about like, hang on, why do you
mhm,
think that?
mhm.
And let's dissect this to show you that that's just not the case. This is a story you're telling yourself.
That's right. And
And
then you live into that story as an adult. So that's what I was doing with the kids also when they had came up with that. It's really quickly. We just stopped it quickly. All right.
mhm,
It takes, first of all, it takes awareness on the person's part.
yeah.
So otherwise, you cannot stop a story or you cannot do this if you do not know what you're doing. So that's number one. You got to know. Number two, then you stop the story and you go right back into what's so, the facts. Okay. Joe threw mud in my face. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Now, Joe, was there a reason that you threw mud in his face? Yeah, his face was there and I was holding mud and I had an urge to throw it. Is that because you don't like him? No, he was there. I had this urge to throw it in his face. Okay, well, now what are you going to do about it? Joe, I'm sorry that I just really wanted to throw mud at you. I felt compelled. It's not that I didn't like you. It was like a new experience for me. Oh,
Right. That's
oh,
quintessential kids right there. Exactly. Yeah. No, and for instance, kids are so good at being honest and saying things that are just facts to them. Like, I'm trying to think with like your shirt. Like you'll be like, "Oh, your shirt fits funny," or something.
yeah,
You're like, "Does that mean you don't like me?" No, it was just an observation. I think you're great.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely. And just, and yes, and teaching children not to turn these into stories.
And stories is just also I mean, that we're all spinning things in so many different ways. It's the same thing, like the 4 agreements, like, just don't take things personally.
That's right.
And once you learn that lesson, it is the most you have freedom. And so that's what you're doing. You're teaching people freedom.
Yeah.
from words, from stories, and once you get a taste of that, talk about confidence and empowering. Changing the world, as you say. I love it.
Right, things become exciting.
Yeah.
It just life becomes exciting, and it takes you from a space of being resigned, cynical, and, um, small into a space of being bigger and making a difference and lighting up the world and being a light for others as well.
Because we can get addicted to our stories.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's something when you really believe something's true, if you take a minute to figure out where you came up with that idea,
Mhm,
and then sometimes you can feel it inside of you that giving it up feels like you're giving up a piece of yourself that
mhm.
you don't want to release, and then you realize, oh, I was addicted to this negative feeling.
Yeah.
I was just having a long conversation yesterday with a good friend that's a new mother, and how she felt like she escaped the doldrums after having a kid, and sort of blaming herself for having these feelings. And we were talking about like, how do sometimes you have a day where you just feel like, oh, everybody hates me, and then you start telling this story, and especially as a new mother when the chemicals in your brain and your hormones are everywhere. And she's like, well, how do you get out of that spiral? And we were just talking about the difference between bypassing the feeling, where you just reach, that's Abraham Hicks's, people criticize her for being spiritual bypassing, that you're just trying to be Pollyanna and reach for that next best thought. That sometimes it's okay to just take a minute to feel into that addiction, like feel into that negativity and then identify it. And then I think that's the difference in what you're doing. Like, you're not asking anybody to bypass their feelings. You're
Yeah,
just
and
identifying the story
sometimes
behind it.
sometimes I do, okay, in different ways, and I'm gonna give you an example.
Okay.
So, human condition, all right? So, again, this is awareness, this is a conversation. We're dropped into a world where there's something wrong, okay? So, you don't feel good,
Mhm.
okay? And so now, "Oh, I don't feel good," so you start to spiral down. Maybe there is look, obviously, we know that the body goes through hormones, we know that the body goes through chemicals, we know that. Aside from that, when we're just in that funk or we're
Mhm.
going into that space, when we can identify that what we've actually stepped into is the human condition, the programming of suffering. It is a program. And really wonderful work on this was done by Eckhart Tolle in his book, The Power of Now, I believe it is. And if it's not that one, it might be in The New Earth. But he
Mhm.
talks about the pain body. And the pain body is us humans suffering. And that is, you can call it an addiction. It's just the pain body. And so when you're in that space of suffering, you want to start to look at it like, why am I suffering through this? Like, yes, you called it an addiction. I call it, I call it hereditary behavior,
Mhm.
unconscious behavior, so that it's not even conscious. We're just stuck in that, in the cycle of suffering. So we want to look at, okay, why am I suffering? Oh, because I made up blah blah, because I told myself this, because I don't feel this, but okay, do I want to stay suffering or do I want to move out of suffering? I have a choice. And but you really have to understand what suffering means because for some people suffering is a there's different definitions.
Mhm.
For me suffering is anything where I am not in alignment and feeling happy, then I
Yeah.
suffer. Okay?
Mhm.
Like so like
Mhm.
that is it. I can suffer through something or I can do it happily.
Mhm. Mhm.
So even homework, you can suffer through homework, or you can take on do you want to suffer through your homework? Okay. Or do you want to just do your homework and have a good time with it and be done and know that this is part of the process of going to school?
Yep, and this friend that when we were talking about it, it's so interesting when you can have distance from those feelings, and the difference when we're going back and forth on like what's the best way to get out of this suffering when you're in it. And maybe it's as simple as creating a note on your phone that says read this when you don't feel good.
Yeah.
And it's this coaching that you're giving right now of like, it's a choice. Can I prove to myself all these negative feelings, prove them false? Like find the opposite in your life, which it's so easy to do. But when you're in it, the reason I call it an addiction, because sometimes it just feels better to wallow in it than to find the solution.
Okay. And to agree with you, it's not even feel it's easier. So here's the thing,
Mm,
it takes more physical. Okay, it takes 0 energy to lie on your couch or sit on your sofa and be miserable, suffer, feel like poopy. It
mhm,
takes no energy. It's like, "Oh, okay." It takes more energy to say, "Oh, I'm not gonna feel I'm gonna change my thoughts. I'm gonna do something different right now. I'm gonna work my way out of this." It takes more energy. Even those thoughts alone take more energy. It takes more energy to vibrate at a higher vibration than it does to vibrate at that low, slow
mhm.
mass to mass. And that again takes cognition and awareness. So once you've hit that awareness, oh, I'm at that point right now. I can either wallow in this or I can take an action. The moment that you take an action, again, the body shifts. If it's something as simple as clapping your hands will take you out of it, it's an awareness. It's an awareness. And then it becomes a choice.
And maybe it's a good idea to have like a partner in it. So this friend that I have might say, "Hey, next time you're wallowing, just send me a text and I'll help you with these reminders."
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
when because it's going to feel easier to sit in on the couch and just, and then sometimes you
Absolutely.
take a nap and something that's kind of an action too.
Yeah.
Just,
And that's different when your body needs a nap. I mean, there's
mhm,
different layers of it. You just don't want to make yourself wrong over it again. All right.
yeah,
So, but there are levels, and when you're suffering. Suffering is not the same as being tired. When you're physically tired, you're tired. So give yourself permission to be tired.
right, right. But I just mean something that can snap you out of it could be as easy as a nap to shift your
Mhm.
frequency, and then when you wake up, you might have the mental capacity to now
Absolutely. Absolutely.
cognitively go through these steps we're talking about.
Absolutely.
It's fun to bring awareness to the fact of the difference that these, because we've all been there. These steps are so great to pontificate on when you're out of it, but when you're in it, that's what I was trying to help her with. And
Mhm.
it's fun to explore how everyone does it differently.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And that's why it's good to have an accountability partner or someone that has the skills so that, "Oh, I'm wallowing." Okay, well, okay, how long are you gonna wallow? Give yourself 5 minutes, alright? Are you enjoying
Right.
it?
Can you give us some success stories on these coaching? I know you can't say names, and but what of like from start to the evolution of some of these people?
No, I just don't wanna
Reveal anybody?
yeah, it's these so imagine someone not knowing what the next step is, alright? Just knowing that they need out of their situation. And
Okay.
then they're given my phone number and they're in a parking lot in their car, not knowing what do I do? What do I do? And so I said, well, what do you want to do? Okay. Well, I don't know what I want to do. And then again, for better or for worse, I just said, go home.
Okay, okay.
I said, go home. Go home. I mean, this started as a psychic reading, okay? I said, "Go home. Alright, go home, get yourself balanced, get yourself in your network, go home." And then she went home, and then we spoke again, and I said, "Well, now that you're home, how do you feel?" "Feel great. I wanna do something." "Well, what do you wanna do?" "Alright, now this is the part that I cannot share, okay?
Okay.
I want to create XYZ." Said, "Okay, well then let's go for it."
Mhm.
All right. So from that point, I don't know how to create it. I said, "Yes, you do. And we're going to work through this." And so what happened was she created it was a process. All right. So she always calls it we created, even though she did all the work. I did like the
You
kind of like the vizier, the consulting work.
Mhm.
The largest woman owned thing in um in the state of New York.
Okay.
All right. One woman show. All
Cool.
right. Big, impacting thousands and thousands of people, impacting the community, impacting the environment. Everything is done without using plastic. Everything is environmentally friendly. We're talking a huge scale. We're talking really big. And sometimes I just like tell her, go listen to your interviews on NPR. Go
Mhm.
watch yourself on television. Go see who you have become. It all started with language, and then it stepped into the psychic part and the ontology of who are we going to be? And are we going to step out of our own little circle of not good enough and make a difference for other people? Or are we going to play small, shrink, and let that, as Wayne Dyer would say, let that music die within us?
Mm.
Or are we going to find someone who's going to hold our hand and take our dream out there to the world?
Oh, it's beautiful. And so is this what you're most excited about that you're
This is
doing
what
right
I
now?
do all the this is what I'm always doing.
Mhm.
All
And so
right?
if someone's interested in your coaching programs, contacting you on your website's the best way.
Absolutely. And if somebody has a dream, and it could be anything from writing a book to, I mean, yeah, I'm working with people now from Harvard, okay, and just these are dreams, okay, that people want to bring to the world. And some people just, they don't have a clue where to start. Got a dream? That means that it was planted
Yeah.
somewhere. Okay, so it needs the watering. And not every, and this is not about me being, it's not it's just I have the experience. I have the
Yeah.
experience and I use psychic tools and I use other tools again. Um, from teaching and from ontology and neuroscience. So we have the abilities.
Mhm.
And so if you have a dream that's really big and you need someone, I mean, client, her face is so well known so well known that, you know, uh, yeah,
I
just
just love it. And then it's like
so
there's
well
like
known.
NDAs
And
associated with it. And
anybody and every single one of these people, Kelly, started
yeah.
from zero with a
Yeah.
dream, with a dream.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing all
Yeah.
that you've got going on, not only from how to help children or to myself in life,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if anybody needs an accountability partner for the word police, reach out to me and I'll see what I can do to help.
And and here's the other thing, Kelly, when you start teaching when you start leading by example, right, and you start doing this, your kids are gonna be so inspired, and they're going to want to do this also, not because they should, but
Hmm.
because they desire to do it, because they see that this is what's possible.
Well, what you just reminded me too, that as parents, we think we have to have it figured out before we can teach our kids. But what a gift to them to show them that but we're learning this alongside
Mhm.
them.
Absolutely.
And then they don't have to feel like they have to know everything either.
Well,
We
they
can just
don't.
learn
Neither
together.
do and neither do we, okay?
No.
So
And give
we're all
ourselves the same grace
benefit.
we would our
Mhm.
kids, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Is there anything else that I didn't cover that you wanted to talk about? Your platform that you're going to be on?
I'm gonna be speaking for the you can go to the Consciousness Hub.
Yeah.
Just type in the Consciousness Hub, and I will be speaking on Psi Ontology, PSI Ontology, on October 4th at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Consciousness Hub.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure I put that in the show notes and we do a link to that. That's Tom Campbell's platform as well
Right.
that they started the nonprofit. That's so cool. Congrats on that. That's gonna be a great talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Ellie. Well, thank you again for everything and the inspiration you gave us. And I just really enjoyed our conversation today.
And thank you for the opportunity to share all of this with everyone. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, everybody reach out to Elly Molina and I'll put her stuff in the show notes and then make sure we all can stay in touch about this because together I think this can really change the world.
Absolutely.